This is an FPL Nightmare, FPL Nightmare song. Roll on game week 38, cause everything's gone wrong. Oh, everything's gone tits up. Ever since game week 1, it's an FPL Nightmare. That's how my season's gone. Oh, I wanted a Vardy party, but his points pinned off the bar. Should have gone on with De Bruyne, but I went for Paul Pogba. Oh, I spent 14 million Liverpool's defensive stars and 4 mil Johnny Lundstrom, and scored them both by far. Cause it's an FPL Nightmare, got me pulling out my hair. I'm the greatest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one seems to care that my points are only average and my ranking is not fair. Oh, I started with Dean Henderson for a save of 2 IOs. Went down the drain in the very first game when everyone else went home. So I brought in the man from Burnley to guard between the sticks, despaired in my misfortunes when it cost me -6. Oh, roll on game week 38, cause everything's gone wrong. Everything's gone tits up. Ever since game week 1, it's an FPL Nightmare. That's how my season's gone, and now I've pinned all my hopes and dreams on Help Me Miss John Me song. Oh, it's an FPL Nightmare, got me pulling out my hair. I'm the greatest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one seems to care that my points are only average and my ranking is not fair.
Hello and welcome to the FPL Nightmare YouTube channel. My name is Andrew, the Nightmare Dreamer himself. And today I wasn't actually going to do a deadline stream, but what it was is that I was streaming with Shane, the FPL veteran, earlier, and I just had such a good time. I thought I might as well, my camera's set up, so I might as well come on the stream and talk a bit of FPL. So I have been, got the graphics all done, and then here we are. So we've got a few people in the chat, 21 people watching now. That's wonderful. A big drop off from last week, and this is what happens once game week 2 rolls around. There's nothing to talk about. People, these 21 people are probably wondering what the bloody hell I'm going to fill an hour with talking about FPL when all anyone seems to want to do is just roll them transfers. Who have we got in the chat? We've got Sammy from the Scandinavian Sammy. We've got the Deathcore Dashcam. We've got Andy Roo, the D units in the house. I wonder if he'll bring that cult and get these watch numbers up. We have got Colm, we've got the hippie, we've got all the crew. Robert Dies here. FPL Have a Beer's lurking around, although I'm not sure he'll be sticking around because apparently he's having a life today and getting out and meeting people. So without any further ado, we'll get into what happened last week in game week 1, and what a disaster it was. Will you look at that? Now, if you remember on my deadline stream last week, I revealed the monster mini league I have put together. All the big names are in it. Let's have a quick recap. We've got Let's Talk FPL, we've got the Raptor, the Mate, we've got the Black Box lads, but still no Mark Southerns. Somebody get on to Southerns and get him in this league. There's still that space for Southerns. We've got Gianni above average. We've got Hibbo, Pricey, the Black Wolf. We've got Praz, Harry, Andy, Martin. All the big names are here. Last but, and of course, we have Nick Triggerlips and the Pubcast crew. And, of course, my mates in the League of Gentlemen, the best of the best, have come along. So we put together this league because what I wanted was to challenge myself to become even better. I want to win this game, and to do that, I have to play the man, not the cards. I can't play these faceless IDs, these numbers, and try and get slightly better numbers than them. I need rivals, and I need a rivalry, and that's what I've put together here. You will not find a better rivalry, and I tell you what, those elite FPL lads, they aren't half smashing it all the way up at the top of all the names you'll know. Elite FPL are at the top. Of course, my mate the Ox is slightly ahead of them, but you'd have to expect him to fade away before long. So we will go back to my team last week, and we'll just quickly dissect what went wrong. So D-Unit saying the true play was that how me and him have lured people into the false sense of security, thinking they've already got us on the ropes right before we hit the counter punch. Well, I'm not entirely sure I share D-Unit's confidence, but some of us use our brains to play the game rather than tossing magic cards. So when you look at that team, I mean, it was so close to greatness. That's the problem. So close. De Kuiper, 2 points, should have been 6 if it had finished a minute earlier. Milenkovic and Sells, whenever I've doubled up, trebled up on the Forest defence, it's gone wrong, and the season has started the same. Sells and Milenkovic, a soft penalty to concede, but imagine if Sells had just stood still and gathered that penalty. Suddenly, those two players have got me 21 points between them, and it's a very different story. Palmer underwhelmed. Fernandez played well, but did not get the points. Vert, in fact, the only player on my team that did anything good was Reinders, who was probably the biggest gamble of them all, because how could we have known he would play? So he did play, he got the goal, got the assist, and now he's looking a very astute signing. And, it's funny with these gambles, because now it looks like it was a genius brave move, but it could have gone the other way. I could have got Dewsbury Hall. A lot of people gambled on Ekitike. Now they look geniuses, but it could have been Gyökeres. They could have got Gyökeres and looked a bit foolish. They could have got Sesko and looked a bit foolish. So we can't read too much into Game Week 1, except, of course, that Elite FPL are back at the top of the games. But the problem we have now is what to do from here, and it is a problem, because when you have a bad game week, you just panic. You do. And I try not to panic. I try and be the cool, calm customer. But you saw my video the other day. You can't get more emotional. I almost talked myself into some stupid moves. And, well, they're maybe not stupid. Who knows? We won't know until Monday night. But the problem is, the biggest problem on that team was Matheus Nunes, and people are telling me I was foolish to go with Nunes, and I disagree. Turn my volume up a notch, says Daniel Fox. Is that better for you? I hope it's not too loud. What happens is Windows just keeps lowering the volume of the microphone no matter what I do. It's really frustrating. So I'll get my settings up and I'll try and keep an eye on that. Well, yeah, I'll try and keep an eye on it. Just keep me right in the chat if my volume gets a bit low. Trying to be a bit calmer than I was in my video the other night, because, you can have the big drama, you can have the high intensity videos, but sometimes you just need a nice chill chat about FPL. So Nunes, I'm not too worried about, because I knew when I got him, he was a 2 games every 3 games player. I knew he would get dropped for the odd game to every 1 in 3, and it's just frustrating that it happened in Game Week 1. And now, because Rico Lewis did well, the question is Nunes going to come back into the team, or is he going to stay on the bench? The biggest frustration was that he came off the bench last week, because when I got him in, the thinking was he'd only been subbed on once since switching to right back, and if that had held up, I would have got Rodon off the bench, and the strategy would be on course. It would be exactly what I imagined it would be. But he did come off the bench. He came off the bench and got that 1 point, and now the question is, have I made a fool of myself? Should I get him out? I don't think so. I think with Nunes, I knew he was a 2 in 3 match player, so I'm going to give him that 3 matches. I'm going to give him the 3 matches because in Game Week 4, Munoz of Palace plays against Sunderland, and I think that's a nice time to switch between the two. I do have some moves in mind. We talked about them on the video a little bit, and of course the first move in mind is whether or not to get Haaland. And I'll get into that shortly. First of all, I will bring up my squad as it looks for Game Week 2. This is what I'm dealing with. And I've got a few transfers in mind, but I'll let you have a little moment to look at that yourself. You've got the choice between Dubravka and Sells. For me, not a choice at all. Then you've got that defence. It doesn't look as promising as it did last week. The midfield, I think the midfield still looks strong. It's just because they all blanked that it looks weak. And then the same with the attack. Now, I do have the benching dilemma. Who am I going to bench? The plan was to bench Reinders, but then he's gone and got 10 points, a goal and an assist, and he's made himself look indispensable. So now that's the big question. And that's partly what brings me to the first transfer dilemma, and that is whether or not to get Erling Haaland. Now, if I do, this is the move I'd be making. I would have to take a -4 to get Haaland in, and I would do Bowen and Palmer to Haaland and Josh King of Fulham. Now, Bowen obviously dropped in price last night, but I have the money in the bank to be able to still make that move. That is not a problem. Just means I can't get a Dewsbury Hall. But if I am bringing in Josh King, it would be purely to be a substitute and to end all these benching dilemmas. And it's funny because every year I think to myself, I want to make sure I've got a strong bench. I want to have that rotation player. And then game week 1 happens, and then we get to game week 2, and it's the benching dilemma, and it's like, oh, bloody hell, what have I done here? Why didn't I just get the obvious benches? So the question is, am I prepared to pay 4 points to get the obvious bencher? Now, the fact is that Palmer does have a better fixture than Haaland. Bowen does have a better chance of a return than King. But then if I started them two, I'd probably have to bench Strand Larsen, or I would be benching Florian Wirtz. If we go back to my team, so those are the two players I'm thinking of benching, Wirtz or Strand Larsen. And I don't really want to bench Strand Larsen, but of the two, he has the lowest ownership, which does factor into the decisions. And maybe it shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't be thinking about ownership. But when you are behind, you don't want to fall further behind by taking a bit of a gamble and leaving out a £116 million attacking midfielder. It's a tough call. So the question is, do I make it simpler for myself by getting rid of Palmer and Bowen, getting Haaland and King in, and then just benching King and having that front seven of Saka, Wirtz, Reinders, Fernandes, Haaland, Watkins and Strand Larsen? And I have reached a conclusion, and the answer is no. I will not be taking that -4. This -4 that I've got on the screen, I will not be making that move. And there are a few reasons for it. One, it is a reactionary move. There is no doubt about that. Two, while I'd rather not have benching dilemmas, it's better to have players, it's better to have options than to have no options, in my opinion. And if I'm not getting Haaland, then there's absolutely no point having a rubbish player on the bench, a rubbish FPL asset on the bench, just to save myself from having to make a decision. If I want to win this game, and I do want to win this game, I believe I still can win this game this season. It's just one game week. I need to be able to make the big decisions. And the first big decision I'm making is to go without Erling Haaland. So if I go back to the screen again, jumping and jiving between these screens, it's very unprofessional, perhaps, I don't know, but I am not making that move. And there's a couple of reasons. One, I think Cole Palmer, he needs his last chance. It is a last chance. We have to be real. It's not that he's had one bad game week. It's that he's had an entirely bad year. Since January, I think he's got one open play goal. It's not enough. It's not enough. But West Ham did just concede 3 goals to Sunderland. So Palmer, I mean, you just can't. The thing is, if you get rid of Palmer and Bowen for a hit to bring in Haaland, if Palmer gets a penalty, then Haaland needs 3 attacking returns to match it once you take off the -4. And I don't think he's going to get them against Spurs. I don't think Man City are going to beat Spurs. Spurs have 10 goals in the last 3 games at the Etihad. And for all they were poor defensively last year, they have Romero back, they have Van der Ven back, they have Vicario back, they have Paulinho in there. I think, Thomas Frank's a much more astute tactician than Ange Postecoglou ever was. And I think Spurs are going to beat Man City. I think they'll beat them 2-0, maybe 2-1. But I don't think Haaland will get the goals required to justify the hit this week, because I think Bowen scores. I think Palmer scores. I do. And maybe I am biased by my own team. Maybe this is a bit of wishful thinking, but I'm not scared to make that hit. It's just I don't think it's the best move. Now, Bowen, is he an out... The hippie is in the chat saying Bowen's an out-of-position midfielder listed as a striker. Now, I saw some of that Sunderland game and West Ham last week. Bowen's a striker. They play 3-5-2 now. Bowen is playing up front alongside Fulkrug. And the first half, West Ham had chances. Bowen had chances. And it's easy to say West Ham are rubbish and they're doomed based on one defeat against Sunderland. But they're a newly promoted club, Sunderland. And I feel like it's going to hurt me to say this a bit, but I feel like people are underestimating them. I actually think Sunderland are a little bit better than we give them credit for. They've gone for the Nottingham Forest approach of a mass overhaul after promotion, and it looks like it might well pay off. They've got good players, and you could say West Ham made them look good, but I disagree. West Ham in pre-season, they weren't bad. They played 5 games, they won 3 of them, they drew another one. Their only loss was to Man United. They scored in that. They beat Everton, they beat Bournemouth, they drew with Lille, and they beat Zurich. Now, West Ham, if you were to look at Gameweek 1 and say, I think West Ham could beat Bournemouth, people would think you're deluded. People would think, what on earth are you talking about? But West Ham just beat them 2 weeks ago. So I'm not convinced West Ham can be written off just yet. I think Bowen deserves a chance. Because if we do extrapolate, if we do extend the window we look at over 3 months rather than 1 game week, Bowen scored and got returns like almost every week in the end of the season, and it's pretty much the same team, except they've got a better striker, they've got Fulkrug fit, they've got a better striker on the bench in Callum Wilson, they've got a more attacking left back in Juve, so I think there's goals for West Ham, so I'm not prepared to sell Bowen just yet. Palmer, again, I don't rate him. I feel like I've blundered with Palmer, but what else are you going to do, He had a home game against Palace, and then he's got this West Ham game. And the thing with Palmer is he's got a good run all the way to game week 16. So if he can find even inconsistent form, he's probably worth it if I'm going without Haaland and Salah. And I am going without Haaland this week. So when I asked the question in the title, is Haaland a must-buy? The answer for me is no, he isn't. Because he's £14 million. And if you bring him in this week, are you captaining him? Well, I'm not. Look at my squad. I've got Bukayo Saka there. I will be probably captaining Saka against Leeds. So is it worth taking a hit for a striker against a solid defence? A defence which, let's not forget, until Paulinho was subbed off, kept Paris Saint-Germain, the European champions, at bay. So that's where I stand on the Haaland thing. I don't think he's a must-buy. I think he will be for that Burnley game. But for now, I am going without Erling Haaland. Now, that is only one of the big questions of the game week. Number one, are Haaland and Rangers must-buy players? Well, we've answered the one about Haaland. No, he is not a must-buy player. Although he's a very nice player to have, we can't deny that. Rangers is a bit of a different story because we don't actually know. Now he looks nailed, but we don't actually know if it's a one-off or if this is a replicable run of form that he can recreate in that Pep Guardiola team. We know what Guardiola's like with the rotation. So the problem is Rangers going to become another victim of that? They've still got options there. They've got O'Reilly, they've got Gundogan, they've got Bernardo Silva, they've got Rodri, looks to be fitter than we thought he would be. So I mean, they could even play a Kanji or Stones in there. I think Rangers is probably good for start, but do I think he's a must-buy? Well, I actually think if you don't have him, it's probably worth buying him because he's cheap and he's only going to get more expensive, and he looks like he could, be a very good asset. Will he be Cole Palmer of a couple of seasons ago? I'm not convinced on that, but he looks like he'll be a good asset. And if you're comparing him to Elliot Anderson, they've just brought in, Forest just brought in Douglas Luiz, how will that affect Anderson? Dewsbury Hall of Everton. Everton aren't the ones. Everton are not the team to be buying players from this season at this stage. So I think Rangers is certainly worth strong consideration, but a word of caution, and I'm not saying this is not a definitive statement, but I remember when we had Steve Bruce at Newcastle and we brought in a central midfielder by the name of Jeff Hendrick, and he got an assist on his debut and he scored a screamer as well. 14 points on his debut for Jeff Hendrick. Would you have recommended bringing Jeff Hendrick in? No, you wouldn't. And I'm not saying Rangers is the modern day Jeff Hendrick by any stretch of the imagination, but if I didn't have him, I'd still maybe wait a week, maybe two, because if he rises to £6 million, like you don't see people rise by 0.3 in a game week. So the most he'll rise now is to £6 million before the end of game week 3. Is Rangers a must-buy at £6 million? Well, if he is at 5.5, he still is at 6 million. So I wouldn't be going out of my way to bring him in just yet. It's worth getting the extra information. Although, again, if you want him, if you want Rangers, go for it. I've got him, and he's probably the only thing that saved my game week last season. So, and again, Palmer and Bowen, are they must-sell players? Well, I feel like I've answered that. I don't think they are this week. I think Palmer next week, perhaps. But then, for me, I've got Saka. So, there is a question there. Bowen, again, if Bowen blanks this week, you might as well sell him. He doesn't have the best run of fixtures. I think because a lot of his fixtures were grey, people actually overestimated how good his fixture run was, and I don't think it's very good at all. He is a very consistent player though, and he was last season. At the end of last season, he was very consistent. Can he be that again? Well, we're going to find out in just a few short hours' time. Which brings us to question number 3. Is rolling the transfer the best move? And for most people, I think it probably is. For most people, I think rolling the transfer is the best move. Now, I've had somebody mention Marmoush. I would keep Marmoush as well. I like Marmoush. I rate him. I love the way his name sounds in my mouth. So, again, I would give him another one. What we have at the minute is one game week of information. And, if I bring up my team again from last week, it was hideous. Hideous, absolutely hideous. 33 points. Should I rip up that squad? Maybe. Should I wildcard? Absolutely not. Because all those players that played away from home, they now play at home. All those players that played at home, they now play away. The players that had tough games now have easier ones. There's too much that could change and too little different that we know. If we look at it, in a bigger hole than just one game week. You know, you've got Watkins, great player, very consistent. They had a bad game last week, but they were up against one of the best defences in the league, one of the most consistent defences in the league. Slow start for Watkins, but he's against Brentford tonight and this weekend, and Brentford are not very good. Brentford are in big trouble. So I think Watkins will get the goal. Bowen, I think he'll score against Chelsea. I do. I think Palmer will score against West Ham. Bruno Fernandes, you know, he could have got a goal last week, played very well, and now they're up against Fulham, who always concede. I think Man United are going to get 3 goals this weekend. So all these players underwhelmed. Saka, very poor, but now he's got Leeds at home. De Kuiper, late goal, frustrating, but now he's playing Everton. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's no rush. Now Milenkovic and Sells, you know, Crystal Palace. Mateta's a good striker, good player. But Palace have just played in the week, in the European match. They have just lost Eze. They've just had the manager come out criticising the transfer policy. I don't know. If that game was 0-0, you wouldn't be surprised, would you? And there's a lot riding on that game. You know, Forest have already stolen that European place from Palace. So I think we just wait. I think waiting is the best thing unless you have conviction. Unless you have conviction in a transfer. And I'll get to that in a minute. I just want to have a quick look through the chat because I wasn't very good at that last week. And I want to see if we have any questions. Oh, it's quite pressure. You know, you start talking by yourself. It's much easier to stream when you've got somebody to stream with. So you can take a minute off and catch up with the chat. So do we have any questions at the minute? Robert Dye had 90 points. Fantastic. Fantastic. Sammy, Scandinavian Sammy, still can't believe I captained Bowen last week. Well, why wouldn't I? He was playing a promoted team. You know, and this is the thing. This is part of why I went against Haaland and Salah. Because with one transfer, this squad of mine, with one transfer, this squad gets a fixture against a promoted team every single game week until my game week 13 wildcard. Every single game week for the first 12 game weeks, with one transfer, I can captain against a promoted team. That's why I went against Haaland and Salah, because I wanted to target the new boys. And look, Sunderland and Leeds had good starts. They looked good last week, but how replicable is it? How well will they do this week now that that rush has gone away? We just don't know, and it's going to be interesting to find out. And I'll get on to Sunderland shortly. So, because I do have quite a lot to say about them. Chris wants to play Williams and Milenkovic this week. What do I reckon? I reckon go for it, pal. I'll be playing Sells and Milenkovic myself. I think Forest keep Palace out. I do. I think that's a low-scoring game all over it. I would go for it. You know, because at some point it's going to pay off. And it might as well be this weekend against a team that have lost their best creative player. Sammy says Bowen will get a brace tonight. It's nice to think. I don't know. I mean, you look at my squad. Who am I benching? Who would you bench out of that squad this week? You think about that while I go through here. Jojo's done Palmer out and Haaland in. Again, I think it's a good move. You know, I very strongly considered it myself. Didn't go for it. Don't fault anyone who had. Sometimes it's nice to have that security of knowing, like, people think Haaland was poor last season, and he wasn't. Yes, he was outscored by Ollie Watkins for the second season running. Yes, Ollie Watkins is 5 million cheaper, but Haaland was still scoring a goal every other game. He was still scoring 2 goals every 3 games. All he was lacking was the consistent hauls. He was consistently getting 8-9 points on a regular basis. And it's nice to have that security of a captain that can do that. You know, he might not get the big scores every time, but you know he's a safe bet every week, and you're not stressing about it. You know, half the field's going to have him as captain, so it's not a big risk. So if people want to bring in Haaland, I've got nothing. I'm not going to stop them from doing that. Cornelius says bench Vert. Strand Larsen will play 90 minutes and probably on penalties, and he might. But here's the question. Newcastle are after Strand Larsen. Newcastle are making the moves to try and finally get a striker over the line. We've still got a few more moves to make before we accept the reality that we're going to be starting next season with Nicholas Jackson up front for us in some capacity. So Strand Larsen's one of them. So will Strand Larsen be switched on? Will he be playing at full whack to secure that move? Will he reject the move? You know, we've seen what players can be like, these big strikers with Wissa, with Isak. Even Eze, they said the transfer to Arsenal was put back so Eze could play in Europe, and then he didn't. So will Strand Larsen, if Newcastle drops £70 million on the transfer tonight, will Strand Larsen play? We just don't know. So that would be my argument for benching Strand Larsen, but I do have one for benching Florian Wirtz as well, because Liverpool are getting a thrashing. I keep telling you, Liverpool are getting a thrashing. They are getting their comeuppance on Monday night. But I am an emotional guy, and I'm not going to let my emotions take over this time. I want to be as cool and as collected as I can be, and Wirtz is a £116 million attacking midfielder. And Newcastle, like, for all I'm hyping up this emotion, if the ref decides he wants to shut the game down, if the ref decides he wants to shut the crowd down, a few early bookings, Joe Linton could get a red card. Fabian Schär could get a red card, like he did in the first game at St James's last season. So I have to accept, and I mean, you look at my team, I do get things wrong. I got last week's team very wrong, and I have to accept that I might be wrong about Wirtz. But at the same time, I'm not benching Fernandes because Man United are scoring 3 goals. I'm not benching Reinders because of what he did last week. Saka's got Leeds at home. Palmer's got West Ham. Watkins is against the team he always scores against, who are considerably weaker than last season. So it's Bowen, it's Wirtz, or it's Strand Larsen. And I just, if I was benching Bowen, I might as well have sold him. Do you know what I mean? So I do think it's Wirtz or Strand Larsen, unless, we'll get to that in a minute. Have we got any more questions in the chat? Does D-Unit believe Palmer is going to blank? He says no. I agree. I don't think Palmer blanks. I think it's going to be that classic thing where he'll score probably a penalty, and then it's like the question is, do we persist with him? And I feel like it could be like this for Palmer, where he does something, but not enough to be enthusiastic about him, but enough to question selling him for another week. And it could drag on, and maybe it is better to bite the bullet, who knows, but I'm not doing it tonight. Why? So, have we got any other questions before I get on to the next bit? I don't know, I can't see. I'm not used to having so many people in the chat. Thank you all for coming. Yelena's here now. Ange is here. I hope that's not actually Big Ange after what I said about him earlier. You know, Mark Quinn, Steve Granger, loads of people. I'm so grateful because, like, last year, my videos would barely get 100 views for a long time, and I've got 87 people watching. What is going on? Wade Wilson's here. Hello, Stu. Ricky Ricardo, so nice they named him twice. Kieran from Discomfort, I love being on his channel with Shane from earlier. Go back and watch that after this one. Lovely stream, lovely lad Shane. Deserves a lot more views than he gets. And I hope this year their channel takes off because they deserve it. Will Wirtz survive the bear pit at St James's on Monday? Liverpool won't survive it, pal. Liverpool are getting thrashed. I'm going to let my emotional side take over. Newcastle are winning 4 or 5-0. And it's just, you might not accept it. You might think I've lost the plot again, but we'll see. We'll see. You know, I remember Man United winning the title. And then they humiliated Newcastle in pre-season by beating us 4-0 in the Charity Shield. Liverpool have beat us 4-0 in the transfer market, and they have humbled us. Like, they have. They've absolutely decimated our star striker. And it came to St James's Park, and Newcastle gave Man United a lesson, and that is what is going to happen on Monday. And I'm not saying Liverpool won't win the title. I'm not saying Liverpool won't have a better season than us, But on Monday night, that is Newcastle's night. That is Eddie Howe's night. That is Anthony Gordon's night. And in fact, that is a perfect segue to my next one, my next point, which is I am considering selling Verts for Anthony Gordon and captaining him. And I can already tell the chat's going to be like, what are you on about? You can't captain Gordon. You've just captained Bowen and it went wrong. And now you're talking about bringing in an out-of-position winger against the champions and captaining him. Well, just look at this graphic. This is Anthony Gordon in the last 2 seasons. He's got 2 goals and an assist against Liverpool. He's got 3 goals and an assist against Arsenal. 2 goals against City. A goal and an assist against Chelsea. 2 goals and an assist against Man United. 2 goals and 2 assists versus Spurs. And a goal and an assist versus Aston Villa. Anthony Gordon is a big match player. And for Newcastle, there is no bigger match than Liverpool at St James's Park on Monday night. Anthony Gordon has a point to prove. Anthony Gordon was poor last season. He was overshadowed by Murphy, overshadowed by Harvey Barnes. But now he has been asked to step up to the plate. And he's last week, I'm not one for inundating you with stats, but a 0.58 expected goal involvement from Anthony Gordon away at Aston Villa is a phenomenal performance for an out-of-position attacker who was apparently poor. I thought he looked hungry. That sweatband he wears brings him mystical powers. He was shooting from 35 yards with power and accuracy. And Alf's here. Hello, Alf. I'm talking about bringing in Gordon as captain on Monday, so maybe delay the pain train for a couple of days and then you can see my reaction if it all goes wrong. But I don't think it will. I think that Liverpool defence is weak. Now they're talking about playing Szoboszlai at right back. Dominic Szoboszlai, an attacking midfielder, at right back. They've got Kirkes, who's more like a left winger, on the other side. They've got Van Dijk, who is a slow player, who is not at his peak power. And Newcastle are full of power. They're full of intensity. And it's St James's Park. And Anthony Gordon, last week, Elanga was excellent, except his decision making. He could have set up Gordon for a hat-trick, and he made the wrong decision a couple of times. That expected goals involvement of Gordon of 0.58 did not include when Elanga went clean through, and he could have just squared it for the simple tapping, and he took the shot on himself. Now, if he'd squared it, we're talking Anthony Gordon with a goal and an XGI of about 1.31, and now he's against a makeshift defence who can't defend in an emotional match when he needs to step up, and suddenly the conversation's very different. So I believe in Anthony Gordon. And now Gia's in the chat. Put your money where your mouth is. We'll get to that, pal. We'll get to that. I've got to save that transfer for the main event. I've got to keep you hooked in for as long as possible to get my watch hours up. I need to keep the viewers rolling over. I will get to Anthony Gordon. I will get to Gordon as captain. I'm not going till 6:30. I'll be finalising my team in about 20 minutes and sending you over to watch D Unit. I'm not underestimating. I've got Joseph Robertson. Underestimate the mighty Reds at your peril. I've just said they're going to win more trophies than Newcastle. I've just said they might even win the league again, although I don't think they will. They might. All I'm saying is on Monday night they're getting punished, just like Man United did at 5-0 before they went and won the title. Great teams have horrible games, and Monday night is as horrible a game as it's going to get for Liverpool. So I am prepared to put my money where my mouth is, and I probably will. Well, I'll say probably because I want to keep you hanging around. But also the other thing, and this is another factor about FPL, when you look at my team here, I don't have any Newcastle players. And I look at my brother's team, and I don't have a graphic for my brother's team, but he had triple Newcastle. He had Dan Burn, he had Elanga, and he had Lewis Hall, believe it or not. My brother only had 10 players last week because he makeshift bench and he had Lewis Hall. If he'd have gone with Share, he'd have been top of that killer mini league. All these elite names in there. If my brother had gone with Share instead of Lewis Hall, he'd have been top of them all. And he put his team together an hour before the deadline. All these weeks of planning we all do. My brother puts his team together an hour before the deadline, and he's Fabian Schär over Lewis Hall, away from being ahead of all of them, all of these legends of the game. And that's how it goes sometimes in this game. But what I have is I look at his squad and I see triple Newcastle and I'm jealous, and I think, do you know what it is? He deserves to be 40 points ahead of me. He deserves the reward that comes with backing your own, which comes with playing the game with your heart. That's what I want people to do. People might say this is a stupid move, but is it? Anthony Gordon against a makeshift Liverpool defence in an intense game, right before he plays Leeds, right before he plays Wolves. This is very much an emotional move. It would be an emotional move to bring in Gordon for this game. But also look at that record in these sorts of games for Anthony Gordon. You know, you don't get much bigger than the Cup semi-final away at Arsenal, at home to Arsenal, 2 legs. He's scored in both legs. You know, Anthony Gordon, and lest we forget, what is happening with Isak happened behind the scenes with Gordon last year. Liverpool came in for Gordon. They messed with his head, and that's partly why Gordon had a bad start to the season last year. Because once again, Liverpool came in for a key Newcastle attacker, did not make the move because they didn't really want him. They just wanted to destabilise Newcastle. And that's what's happening with Isak. Liverpool don't want Isak. They don't, because if they did, they wouldn't have signed Ekitike. Because if they hadn't signed Ekitike, they would have had Alexander Isak now. So Isak wants to ask himself how he feels to be the second choice. I don't want to talk about Isak anymore. Enough. The point is, Anthony Gordon's going to kill Liverpool on Monday night with brutal football, high intense, hard running, and goals. So, Soloff linked to Newcastle. Everyone's linked to Newcastle at the minute. We'll pay attention. The only thing we know for sure is that every striker that scored more than 10 goals last season will be linked with Newcastle right up until we sign Nicholas Jackson on deadline day. So before we finalise my squad and my team, Alf's asking if this is Ecam. It isn't, Alf, and the giveaway is that my borders aren't rotating like yours do. Alf, if you don't know Alf, go and watch the Pain Train on Saturday night. He's fantastic. Support your independent FPL content creators. There's a lot of people out here. Yelena in the chat as well. Support her. A lot of us out here trying different things. You know, we maybe can't take on Let's Talk and the FPL Harry in the Black Box. We can't take on the big names doing it their way, but we can do things our way and play with our hearts and give you entertainment with our hearts, make you think about the game a little differently, and hopefully have a good time along the way. So, should we use our bench boost? Well, this is a simple question, and it's a one a lot of people are asking. Should we use our bench boost? And the answer is absolutely not. What the bloody hell are you thinking? Oh, I've brought in 2 Burnley players and 2 Sunderland players, and it's a good game for them both. Well, it isn't, is it? Because if it's a good game for your Sunderland attackers, it's not a good game for your Burnley defenders. And I tell you what, it is not a good game for your Burnley defenders. It is a horrible game. Sunderland, this is where I'm going to have to rinse my mouth out with Vimto afterwards. Sunderland looked very good last week. I'll give you something. I'll give you your soundbite. I feel like my camera's stuttering a little bit here. I will give you my soundbite after 3 game weeks, after game week 3, heading into the international break. Sunderland will be top of the Premier League. They'll be top of the Premier League. And I know what you're thinking. Bloody hell, Nightmare, you've lost the plot. You have absolutely lost the plot here, saying that Sunderland will be top of the Premier League. But I haven't. Because they've got Burnley, and Burnley don't score goals. And Sunderland scored 3 goals against a much better team than Burnley last week. So I think Sunderland win again. And then next week, Sunderland are at home to Brentford, and Brentford are abysmal. Do you think Sunderland can't beat Burnley? Because they're going to. Do you think Sunderland can't beat Brentford? Because they're going to. And that's going to give Sunderland 9 points and the top of the Premier League heading into the international break. And it disgusts me to say it. It disgusts me. But Sunderland will be top of the Premier League after game week 3. So no, if you've got Burnley defenders, you should not be using your bench boost. The next question, should we bench or start Burnley players? If you're talking about defenders, leave them on the bench because Sunderland are doing them like. And I don't like it, but it is the fact of the matter. So I'm going to start wrapping this up now because I feel like my camera's a little bit stuttery. I'm not sure why that is, but it's doing my head in. So we'll wrap this up quickly. Who should be captain? Well, the question is, do you have Saka? If you have Saka or Gyökeres, go with them. If you have Mayenda, take a chance. Go Mayenda. If you have Haaland or Salah, well, you have to captain them really, because why are you spending 14 odd million pounds on a player you won't captain? You know, I do think Liverpool are getting thrashed. And let's face it, last time Salah was up against Livramento, it was the only time in his career he played 90 minutes, didn't have a single shot or create a single chance. Why do you think it'll be different on Monday night when it matters more? When it's at St James's Park rather than a neutral ground. So I don't think you should. I think you should sell Salah. What are you doing with Salah in your team? Like, you could get a similar output from Ekitike for £6 million cheaper. Probably a better one in the short term. But you could get better players than Salah, and then you can reassess in game week 4 whether you should bring him back. So I wouldn't captain Salah. I wouldn't even play him. I'd bench him because he's doing nought. But Haaland, if you've got him, you're going to have to captain him, aren't you? He's at home game against Spurs. You're going to have to take that chance. Saka or Gyökeres, if you've got them, go for them. I wouldn't captain Palmer. I would not captain Palmer, but I would be tempted by Joao Pedro if I had him, because West Ham looked weak in that role, and Mayenda did well. But really, who you should be captaining, and who you should be signing to captain, is Anthony Gordon. And just in case you question, just look at that one last time. Look at that big match performance. Think about how big this match is for Newcastle and get Gordon in your team. And now you're saying, oh, it's time for you to put your money where your mouth is, Nightmare. It's time for you to back up your big talk. Like you think I won't do it. Like you think I won't talk myself into doing a foolish move for entertainment's purposes. Well, here we go. There's Verts, gone. I'll type him in. You can't see it on the screen because his website's god-awful. But there he is, Gordon. And look, I'll scroll down a little bit. Look at this. Make transfers. Confirm. You can't see the confirm. What a shame. You can't see, but now look what we've got. We've got Gordon in the team. We've got Gordon instead of Ertz because I back up my big claims. I back up my big talk. Gordon captain is awkward. Well, it's not going to be as awkward as looking myself in the mirror if I back out from the big call. It's not going to be as awkward as bottling it and asking you to believe in me if I don't even believe in myself. So we will now go to Gordon and we will click that captain button and we will scroll down, and I'm not even going to give myself the out of, oh, I forgot to save my team, because there you go. Your team has been saved. Now we go up and we press refresh. There it is, Gordon captain. Saka vice captain. I can't believe I'm doing this. This is what happens. You've talked me into it. You've bantered me into it. I know when I've been bantered, and I had the plan. I had the attack, the promoted club's plan, and now I've taught myself. I've let my heart rule my head. And I am not triple captaining him. Triple captain is game week 19. I've got a very good video outlining my strategy. I don't mind a gamble on the captaincy, but when it comes to the chips, you don't mess around. You don't waste your chips. You certainly don't waste your chips on a Game Week 2 bench boost to play Burnley players against a team that's going to be top of the Premier League in a couple of weeks. So there we are. So the question is, what are we doing with Strand Larsen? What are we doing with Strand? And some of you might even be saying, I should be starting Agbadoo, but I'm not starting Agbadoo at all. I'm not starting him. He's my DEFCON monster on the bench, but I'm giving De Kuiper and I'm giving Nunes that chance. Nunes gets 3 games. I've told you this. Another 33. Robinson says another 33, Andrew. Well, I'm telling you it's not, because Gordon's going to get 34 points alone. What in the Volo is happening? Well, I'm telling you what's happening. I'm going with my heart. I'm playing FPL the way it should be played. You lot can go and click on your FPL review if you want. You lot can go and copy Ben Crellin and call yourself the big man. You lot can watch FPL Harry and do what he says. Or do a Nick Triggerlips and just captain the most popular captain on Scout. But me, I'm going to do the gambling move. I am a gambling man. I am not here to make up the numbers. I am here to win this blasted game. And to do that, I have to take the chances. And that's what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing with Gordon captain. I just don't know how to get Strand Larsen into this team. Will somebody tell me how to do it? And if somebody says, bench Gordon, I'll block you. No, I wouldn't. Nobody gets blocked on my channel, not even them lot. But thoughts on Neto over Palmer? I don't like it. I like Joao Pedro over Palmer. But my question is, what are your thoughts on Strand Larsen over Bowen? Oh, bloody hell, that's my choice, isn't it? I've made this big fuss about keeping Bowen. Do you know what? I'm going to bench Strand Larsen. I'm going to have to, aren't I? I'm going to have to now. It's an away game against Bournemouth, a team that conceded 4 goals, though. They conceded 4 goals. Conceded 4 goals, and now I'm going to bench the striker against him. The striker who I'm such a big fan of. I hope Newcastle sell Alexander Isak and get him in. But then I've just said I think Spurs are going to beat Man City 2-0. So what am I doing with this clown in my team? Huh? The Dutch Jeff Hendrick. Maybe I can't bench Rangers. Surely Gordon captain is enough. Gordon captain is enough. Surely I can't bench Rangers. But who am I benching? Saka's going to play. Palmer will play. Fernandes will. Do I bench Fernandes? No, because Fulham always concede. And all those AI androids have brought in Joachim Anderson, and they'll all be like, oh, he's going to get the DEFCON points today. And it's like, well, maybe, but Nunes is going to get me 14 points. The Kuiper's going to get me 11. The double Forest defence is going to keep Palace out. And then Bruno Fernandes is going to get a penalty, which means all Anderson has a potential of is DEFCON points. So, D-Unit's gone. His stream starts in just a moment, so I will wrap this up. Who are we benching Strand Larsen for? Palmer? Nah, come on. Got to bench Bowen. Robert Dye says, I've got to bench Bowen. Nasty Balls says, I've got to bench Bowen. Nasty Balls. Get yourself to the doctor, man. You have to ask yourself, much like my FPL team with Palmer, do I amputate the wound or do I give it a chance to heal? If you've got nasty balls, go and get them checked out, pal. But bench Bowen. Everyone's saying bench Bowen. Everyone is saying bench Bowen. Graziano saying Strand Larsen is better than Reinders, but Graziano, Italian name, maybe he's a Milan fan, maybe he's a bit outraged Reinders has gone, maybe he owns Reinders because he's his favourite player and he's trying to get into my head. This is what you got to remember, my rivals are on this stream. We've seen Steve-O, we've seen Yelena, we've seen the D-Unit, we've seen Alf. They're all in Nightmare's Dreamers. No wonder they're trying to talk me into these bad moves. And here I am giving them the answers. That Anthony Gordon as captain is the way to go. Let's have a look at who plays last. When do Wolves play? Wolves play at 3 o'clock. Oh, Spurs play. Man City play in the morning, eh? Is this whole Gandhi thing? Do we back the lunchtime kickoff? Always an upset. And I do believe Spurs win. Is it foolish? Is it foolish? How does that look? I'm just tasting it. Just getting a little taste in my mouth as to whether Reinders benched for Strand Larsen is the answer. Will Reinders play the 90 minutes? Am I just doing this? Am I getting carried away because I'm enjoying myself on a live stream? Is that the problem? Is that the problem? Am I a little bit high on the Vimto? Am I a bit too V'd in? Am I trying to be over dramatic and a bit reckless in the hope you come back the next time I do one? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. And I'm not even sure it matters because I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Now everyone's saying do it. You see, now they're asking me to make the moves that they want to make and don't have the cojones to do. No, I'm not benching Núñez. Why are people desperate? If you think Núñez is a bad pick, why do you want me to bench him? You're trying to beat me. Not many of you will, because I'm winning Nightmare Streamers and I will be that world number one. Maybe not this season though. Maybe not this season. Maybe Gordon Captain might be a bit too far. Who knows? Oh, just keep lasting on. Do you know what? No, I don't know if... I do like it. I do like it. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And, you know, you get Gordon as captain against Liverpool. And in exchange, I get Reinders as the safe pick, the high ownership pick at home to Spurs. That's the deal that we're making. You want to dance with the devil? Well, you got to make the deal. That is the compromise. If I bench Reinders, bench Núñez, well, I have just spent the whole time saying I think Spurs are going to win, and now I've got Matheus Núñez on my team. So what you're telling me, what you're saying is, I should bench Núñez and Reinders for Strand Larsen and Agbadou. Surely you are having me on. Surely you can't seriously suggest. Like, come on, we all like a good time. We all like a bit of fun on a deadline stream. But surely you aren't telling me this is how I should line up this week. Why? Tell you what, if I'm doing this, why don't I just make Rodon my first sub? Come on now, we can't be doing this. We can't be doing it. It does look a bit fun though, doesn't it? You know, gold is the colour. And if I do believe Spurs will beat Man City... No, I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for the mind games. This is what Kevin Keegan did. Some claim, I disagree. Some claim this. I'm not falling for the mind games. I'm not benching Reinders and I'm not benching Núñez. And I know you all disagree with me on Núñez. Maybe this is like a Big Andy with Bruno Fernandes. But what happened? As soon as Big Andy took Bruno Fernandes out, he started getting the goals. And I'm not falling for these traps. Núñez gets until Gameweek 3. I mean, he's a defender. What does it matter? Most of the time they get 1 or 2 points anyway. I just want Strand Larsen in my team. Why didn't you let me do the -4 for Bowen and Palmer out for Haaland? Would have been easier. Would have been a lot easier for me. I want Strand Larsen in the team. But I've kept Bowen. And can you imagine if I take Bowen out now and he goes and does something? I'm going to be frustrated, aren't I? And he's one of the most sold players. And so many people have Chelsea defenders. And it's just scripted that he's going to do something. Maybe I should... No, you've got your compromise. I get the safe pick of Reinders. You know what? Sod it. Sod compromises. No compromise in this team. If it all goes wrong, there will be no deadline stream next week. We're going with Strand Larsen. We're going with We're going with JSL. We're going with him. And I'm doing it for you lot. And I'm doing it for me as well. Big shout out to Alf's Nan. Hopefully she's having a lovely birthday. Why she would spend it watching me, I don't know. Maybe it's to try and talk me out of benching Reinders for Strand Larsen. But that was my plan, and people say you should stick to the plan, and this was always the plan. This was always the plan, and if Newcastle do me the favour of buying Strand Larsen tonight and Gordon, sod it. You only live once. If it all goes wrong, then so be it. There we go. That's the team. Oh, no, is it the team though? Is it the team? I'm now yelling at me big rival, saying she loves JSL. Yeah, are you starting JSL over Rangers, Yelena? We'll see. We'll see in 4 hours. Woodstock Chris is saying it's not a good choice, but why isn't it a good choice? Why is it not a good choice to bench Rangers when I think Spurs beat them? Why is it not a good choice? Now people are saying do a bench boost. I've got a Leeds defender against Arsenal and a Burnley defender against Sunderland who are going to top the table in 2 game weeks. Do you know, I just don't know if I can follow through with this Strand Larsen thing. I just don't know. And now, whatever I do, it's all going to go wrong and it's all going to blow up in my face. Either way. Right, I tell you what, I'll do a poll. Well, is there any point doing a poll? We all know what you're going to do if I put a poll in the chat. JSL or Rangers. There you go. Poll in the chat. Probably should have asked a question in it. Right, we'll go for 2 minutes because I don't like that I'm obscuring D Unit. Maybe the first vote will get it. Maybe the first vote. 50-50, yeah? Bloody hell, what am I doing? Why am I leaving? Oh, 14 votes, 54. Oh, now Rangers is winning. Now it's even. Now Rangers. Now it's even. Oh my golly gosh, this is the most. But JSL just can't pull ahead. He just can't pull ahead. Oh, he's pulled ahead. This is the real drama. The vote is to... Kimmy's asking, this is to start. JSL or Rangers? Is Rangers the Dutch Jeff Hendrick? That is the question on everyone's lips. Is he going to be an attacking midfield linchpin, or is he the next Jeff Hendrick? It's 52-48 for JSL, and we all know when we go with a 52-48 vote, nothing bad happens after that. Right? No, you know what? I'm 32% own Rangers, 5% own Strand Larsen. If only Southerns had put the differential bonus in. Bench Bowen. I can't bench Bowen. %13 for Bowen. I don't want to ask D Unit's card. Last season I asked D Unit's card if I should go triple Nottingham Forest defence on my free hit. It said yes. I did. I went with the triple Forest defence and they conceded after about 70 seconds. So no, I will not be asking D Unit's card anything. Right, bugger it. Well, they can't split JSL and Rangers, so 50-50. We are going with Bowen benched. At least if it all goes wrong, both my other attackers follow him, and I'll still have that hope overnight. Oh, now Sammy St. Bourne will get a brace. Bloody hell! Why did you let me bring Gordon in and captain him? I don't know what to do. I can't believe there's still 70 people watching me oohing and ahhing over this. You come for decisive play. Why can't somebody ask me this question and wanting an answer rather than leave it up for me to decide? I just can't do it. I just can't do it. Like the same Rangers won't play 90 minutes, but why not? What's 90 minutes got to do with it if he gets a goal and an assist? I mean, what if I'm overestimating Spurs? You know, I talk about Romero, I talk about Van der Ven, I talk about Paulinho. What if Romero and Paulinho get sent off? You know, Trigger's here, Trigger. They're trying to talk me into benching Rangers for Strand Larsen. I've already sold Verts and Captain Gordon. Now they're trying to talk me into benching Rangers for Strand Larsen. And I'm tempted. It was, to be fair, it was me that gave them the idea, and now they're just trying to get me to invoke the worst side of me. I don't even have a coin. I can't even toss a coin because I don't have a coin anywhere near me. You know. Oh, Trigger with the tricky one. Oh my golly gosh. Somebody tell me what to do. I mean, you look at that, really. If I'm playing the fixtures, I should probably bench Gordon. What have I done here? What have I done here? See, Rangers is at home as well. You know, Strand Larsen away at Bournemouth. I don't need the card Trigger. What I need is the parrot. Where is Muffin the Kia? I need the parrot. Squawk for me, Muffin. I can't believe this dead live stream has been so full of intensity, so full of energy. And here we are, and now it's all silence while I debate something I should have really planned in my head before I went live. Bloody hell. Do you know what it is? I streamed with Shano the veteran, FPL veteran earlier, and I said I think Spurs win 2-0. And I said I think Bournemouth concede. I think Wolves score. So I should back that. No. They're all twisting me in the chat, Trig. This is why I shouldn't have the live chat on. Can you imagine if I put... Like, here's a question for the chat. Do you like the live chat when the live chat's on the screen? Because I've heard different opinions, and I could probably put it on where I've got my ranking and whatnot. What do you think? Should I try and get the live chat on for the next time? Bench Bowen. I just can't decide. This is why is this such a difficult? This is why next season nobody let me talk about having a strong bench. Nobody let me go into game week 1 next year with a strong bench because it's absolutely ridiculous. Right, sorry, I can't decide, so I'm backing the players at home. And that's your advice. If you're undecided between two players, back the ones at home. There we go, saving the team. Strand Larsen's on the bench. He's in place to make his debut for Newcastle against Leeds next week. That's all we've got. Time to... Sakura Watkins, captain. Come on, DM. Get back in the stream 20 minutes. Look at this record. Look at this record. How can you not back Gordon with that record? Come on now. Right, I'm turning it off. No more discussion. That is my team sorted. We're benching Strand Larsen. We're going for gold by benching all the gold. Thank you all for watching. I've had a great time. Really enjoyed it. Completely impromptu. And it's been fun. I didn't intend to stream it all today. And I've ended up doing like 2.5 hours between this and the double pivot. So go and watch D-Unit or go and watch me and Shano from earlier. Or even go and watch my video from yesterday, which is very dramatic, and you'll see just why. I mean, you think this is dramatic, you think this is emotional. Watch my video from yesterday. It's absolutely wild. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate the support. Really appreciate it. Have a great game week 2, and we will... Well, I'll probably end up doing a reaction video tomorrow night. Desperately disappointed that I didn't start Strand Larsen over Rangers. Cheers, really appreciate it. Sayonara!